Well, dear students, let us discuss the life cycle of the Ancylostoma Juvenile. Lifespan of the Ancylostoma is 5 to 7 years. That can extend to maximum of 16 years. So mostly it is having a or average life cycle 5 to 7 years, but sometimes you may also get 16 years of age. Copulation, because both the sexes are separate, male is separate, female is separate, and fertilization of the hookworm takes place in the intestine of the male. During copulation, the bursa of the male is applied to the vulva of the female. You must have remember that bursa is located at the posterior most end of the male, whereas the vulva is present little bit just posterior to the mid portion of the female. So it is applied to it, and the sperms are transferred. Fertilization occurs in the seminal receptacle of the female reproductive system. Now, once the fertilization has taken place, then the fertilized eggs are excreted out because all this has happened in the intestine of the human being. They are excreted out along with the feces. So, if the defecation is done on the ground, then they will come in contact with the soil. They these eggs are the fertilized egg, or you can say zygote also. They are protected in a hyaline chitinous shell. So an ankylostoma may lays 9,000 eggs a day, or 9,000 eggs may come outside along with the feces on the ground if the defecation is open. Otherwise, if the defecation is not open, then the eggs will pass directly into the you can say the septic tank. As a result, they will get destroyed. They will not get chance to get back into the human body, as we shall see later on how they will enter into the human body. Then zygote will start dividing, which is called cleavage. A mass of cell, the marula, is formed. Then from this mass of cell, uh, the embryo is formed. This egg having the embryo inside will hatch out into the first stage juvenile larva called the hereditary larva if the temperature is 68 to 85 degree Fahrenheit, and it will hatch out within 24 to 48 hours. The larva will have the intestine, will have the digestive system, indicating that it may feed on the soil. What it will feed? It will feed on the bacteria of the feces. Then, after 4 to 5 days, it will grow and molt into the second stage juvenile larva and the third stage juvenile larva called the filiform larva. So, the transfer of the larva from one stage to second and to third is uh, is uh, interrupted by the molting or separated by the molting. So, first stage juvenile larva will undergo molt. What is molt? Molt is the shedding of the skin. It will grow in size, it will shed the skin, it will form the second stage larva, and the second stage larva will again feed upon the bacteria of the feces, again grow in size, will shed off the outermost skin or the cuticle that it is having, and it will be called the third stage juvenile larva. This the third stage juvenile larva is the larva which can infect the human being. What will happen because it is still on the soil? So, if the barefooted human being is walking on the soil, it will just pierce the skin of the foot from its base and will enter into the blood stream. Once it will enter into the blood stream, then uh, no, you must remember that this third stage larva will not feed but remain alive for several weeks for want of entrance into the human body. So, what will happen if it will not get a chance to enter into the human body? It will die away. So, here the you can see the precaution is there that if you are not walking barefooted, you are not getting letting the third stage juvenile larva to get entered into the body. Thereby, you are preventing the spread or the disease caused by the ankylostoma. Okay, once it is inside the bloodstream, through the bloodstream, it will reaches to the heart. From the heart, it will goes to the lungs. From the lungs, it will goes to the trachea. From the trachea, because you know the trachea and the digestive system, the esophagus, they are opening uh, in the epiglottis directly. So it will jump into the esophagus. From the esophagus, it will percolate down, reaches to the stomach. From the stomach into the intestine. Once it will reach into the intestine, then within 4 to 5 weeks, it will undergoes two molds here also and will become the adult. So these are the adult, and once the adult will be formed, they will again cling to the intestine wall of the intestine of the human being and will start uh, producing the fertilizing the eggs and giving the eggs outside along with the feces, thereby again completing the life cycle or restarting the second life cycle, you can say. As far as the pathogenesis is concerned, that is the manner of development of disease. So the disease caused by the hookworm is called hookworm disease or called the Ankylostomiasis in main. Mode of infection, I think it is now clear before you that if the man is walking barefooted on the fecally contaminated soil, it is getting a chance of infection. Then pathogenesis is fairly extensive because it is involving the skin, it is coming inside the body through skin, also involving the lungs, and then reaching the intestine. So all these organs will get affected. Penetrating larva, once it will penetrate through the skin or from the skin to the bloodstream or from bloodstream to the lungs and so on, cause characteristic stingy and irritating sores. So called the dew sores or the ground itching and inflammation on the skin. On the skin, the penetration will leads into sores, which is also called as ground itching or the dew sores. Once it will reach the lungs, migratory larvae cause peticle hemorrhage. Peticle hemorrhage means hemorrhage of the capillaries of the blood vessels, blood. So they will, because it will puncture the capillaries to go into the lungs, thereby bleeding of the capillaries will take place. Then, because of the bleeding of the capillaries in the alveoli of the lungs, you may develop the bronchial pneumonitis. So, pneumonia-like feature, you can say. But greatest damage occurs in the small intestine because the adult resides in the small intestine. What it does there, it punctured the wall of the intestine. There, it causes the wounds. Wounds will continue to bleed. Wounds will bleed continuously because it is continuously feeding on the blood, and even more blood may get lost than the worm can consume because all the blood coming out from the puncture will not be taken by the worm only. Some of it will go wasted as well. This result in severe anemia. So the person will have the blood loss, anemia, decrease in general immunity, and the stool is having the blood, shall have the blood inside. Intestinal wounds may lead to various forms of detrimental infections also. So the wound caused by the worm to the wall of the intestine may have some other uh, infection also. Deleterious toxin secreted by the glands in the head region of the worm cause stomach pain. Food fermentation takes place in the intestine, and food fermentation, you can otherwise you can say it is the spoilage of the food. It will not be digested in a normal way. Diarrhea may occur, constipation may also occur, dyspnea may also occur, that is air hunger. When you will have the shortness of the breath, you will not be able to breathe long. Palpitation of the heart may take place. And in order to fight all this infection, the white blood cells which fight against the infection, eosinophils, they may increase their number. They may go above the normal level called the eosinophilia. And ultimately, all these conditions may lead to the loss of the health and a person may collapse as well. mental and physical health is retarded in children and growing youth if the youth and the child is infected by the Ancylostoma juvenile. Patient tries to ease the epigastric pain by eating even dirt, so it is called as dirt disease. So a behavioral change took place in the human being if uh, if the human being is infected by the ankylostoma, that it start eating the dirt, so called the dirt disease as well. Unchecked infection may lead to fatty degeneration of the heart, liver, kidneys, ending to a death, because these are the vital organs. Once these are infected, then the survival will be affected. And the prophylaxis or control I have already discussed earlier, that we must not pass the stool outside on the ground. We must not go barefooted on the ground. Thanks. This is all about the life cycle of the ankylostoma.